Hey everybody, I wanted to talk to you about oxalates. You may have noticed if you follow me on any of the other social media-y type things that I've been talking a lot last year anyway about oxalates. It's a rabbit hole I've gone deep down, and I go down a lot of rabbit holes and I don't share about them all because obviously I don't believe in them all. But I have come to realize that the oxalate issue is a big one, particularly for people who are chronically ill and and are trying a lot of different things and don't seem to be getting anywhere. Um, I am noticing huge differences, and I mean huge differences in people's health, mentally, physically, spiritually, from addressing oxalates. So, oxalates are a plant chemical that's found in mostly plants. It is found in small quantities in animal proteins and things like that in some of them, but very, very small quantities. But it's in a lot of plants that we consider superfoods. And I heard about oxalates years ago, and because at the time I was veggie, vegan, somewhere in between, I can't remember exactly. Um, I just brushed it off, and I was like, oh, it's just another thing. It's just another thing to think about. It's another thing that's probably not true, and it's just another thing. Um, but I read last year a book by Sally Norton, which I'll try and remember to link below. And actually, I watched a video about her first, which I'll try and remember also to link below. And then I read her book, and she's written a book called Toxic Superfoods. And she's also got an add-on to that, which is a data companion with an accurate list of high to low oxalate foods. Now, most of the lists, I'm going to say this here, most of the lists you'll find online contradict each other because they're not lab tested. They've not been checked. Well, everything in her list is lab tested. It's been checked. So hers is like the Bible kind of thing. But anyway, I was reading about this oxalates and stuff, and you know, I over the years, I was veggie, vegan, pescatarian, raw vegan, all sorts of things for over 30 years. Um, and I always assumed I was eating the really best of the best. I made a big effort to make sure I had all the superfoods, I had all the supplements, I had, all the weird and wonderful other foods to make sure I was getting everything that I required from my diet, or so I thought. Um, what I've realized is most other people are doing this. Most other people are eating all the slow releasing things like sweet potatoes, and eating all the greens, the spinach, and the nuts and the seeds, and things like that. And when you go down the oxalate rabbit hole, you soon realize that if you have an oxalate problem, then these foods are doing the exact opposite of what you think they're doing. They're actually causing inflammation and hindering your health, and making every other part of your health, like health conditions you already have, worse, and then adding a whole load of new ones to it as well. So if you still have digestive upsets, even though you are eating all the right foods, and you're not eating the gluten, and you're being careful and stuff like that. If you are struggling still to get over chronic health conditions, even though you're doing all the right stuff, if you are eating a diet high in things like sweet potatoes, spinach, celery, particularly juices and smoothies with these things in as well, dark chocolate, nuts, seeds, things like rhubarb, blackberries, beetroot, turmeric, things like that. If you're eating a diet high in those, which most people that think they're really looking after themselves are, then it might be worth just considering, just for 1 month, to cut these things out, and to see if you are one of the people that is affected very strongly by these things. I already consider myself pretty high energy. I'm very physical here on the farm. I sleep really well. I do a lot of brain things on the computer in between. You know, brain things. That doesn't sound very good, does it? Things that require the use of my brain. Yeah, I decided to cut all the high oxalates from Sally's list, all the red and the orange, the two highest out, to see what would happen. And within a week, my energy went through the roof. My brain was like on fire. It was like really switched on. Um, and I was having a lot less sleep as well, and still feeling amazing. Now that's me, you know, having recovered already from a chronic health condition years ago, having recovered from other things since, and I'm feeling pretty good in myself, was and had that response to it. And that's because I calculated that I was eating somewhere in the region of about 2,000 micrograms of oxalates a day, thinking this was all the healthy food to eat. Um, and they're recommending, these oxalate gurus, that you eat no more than 150 micrograms of oxalates a day. And that's even for normal people that don't have an oxalate problem. So I was like, wow, that's a huge difference. So let's give it a go. Now, because I felt so amazing on it, I've spoken to many clients about following this, and friends and family and stuff. And everyone that has started to follow it within that month, usually about 2 weeks in, of being really strict off the high oxalates, they've had considerable changes to their health. Their energy has improved, their brain fog has improved, their digestion has improved, they sleep better, um, skin has cleared up, and then long term, noticing things, differences, like for me, like I still had a thyroid issue that I manage with supplements. So I've been able to reduce the supplements. Um, yeah, and long term, that was it. But long term for clients, we're noticing hormonal shifts, all sorts of things. So I know it's another thing. I get that. It's another thing to think about. It's another thing to research. But what I would say is just look at Sally's stuff, because hers has been all tested properly and stuff. And her list makes sense as well, unlike some of the lists. Um, and yeah, it's worth, just for 1 month, strictly cutting out those things, to see if you are one of those people that is affected really severely by oxalates. Because if you are, you will notice a huge difference in that time, and maybe some of the chronic health conditions that you are suffering from are not what you think they are, and they're actually oxalate poisoning, and or it's being fueled by oxalate poisoning. So yeah, that's, I wanted to share about this. I wanted to leave it long enough to make sure that it wasn't just a phase, and that it's not just me being affected so positively by this change. Um, so yeah, if you have any questions, please put them below. If it sounds all big and overwhelming and stuff, I understand totally, but it's worth just a try, isn't it? It's worth just trialing it to see if you are one of those people, if it is going to make a huge shift in your mental, physical, spiritual health. And then, just kind of moving on from there, if you are, considering what you'll do long term if you are one of those people. And, if you're not one of those people, you haven't lost anything. It hasn't, you just tried something else for a month. If you want recommendations of things to have instead of certain oxalate things, then just pop that down below and I'll answer those questions as well. It's actually looks like a huge list, but it's actually really quite easy to switch things out and change things around. So yeah, if you have any questions, like I said, pop it below and I will speak to you all soon. And I hope I've not overwhelmed you and this gives you some sort of hope, because I know for sure some of you out there watching this video will have oxalate poisoning and will be positively affected by this. So ciao for now.